All right, today we're diving into a really strange document, one that lays out a hidden war for our very consciousness. Now, our goal here isn't to say if this is true or false, but to simply break down its complicated and pretty wild worldview. So let's just get right into it.
So that phrase you see, living as a clown, supporting a deaf circus, that comes straight from the source text we're looking at. It's how the author describes the ultimate outcome of this hidden war, a life that's just tragically, pointlessly absurd.
And that really is the big question here, right? We're going to trace the main arguments in this text to try and understand the bizarre reality it's presenting. And we'll start with the core problem it says we're all facing. Okay, so the first major pillar of this whole theory is the idea of a domesticated consciousness. The document basically argues that the way we experience consciousness right now, it's not natural at all. So what does domesticated even mean in this context? Well, according to the text, it's a state of constant, engineered stress. It's like our minds are being forced into a permanent fight or flight mode, which is designed to keep us from our natural, more peaceful state of being. And how does this happen? The document points the finger at one specific thing. It claims that mercury, which gets into our system through the food we eat, is the chemical tool used to anoint, or basically alter, our consciousness and lock us into this panicked state. To really hammer this home, the author uses this pretty wild analogy. They compare a mythical cockatrice, a fierce fighting bird, to a regular old rooster. The cockatrice is supposed to be us, in our aggressive, domesticated state, while the rooster is the symbol of that calm, natural consciousness we've supposedly lost. Okay, so if our consciousness is being manipulated, the next big question is, why? What's the point of all this? The document puts forward a very specific and very unusual motive. The text alleges that the whole point is to harvest something it calls Christ oil, but it's not a physical oil. The document defines it as immortalized consciousness itself, a kind of pure life force or spiritual energy. And who's supposedly doing on this harvesting? The document points to a shadowy group it just calls the cabal. In this story, they're the masterminds behind the whole system, all designed to extract this Christ oil. And this is where it gets incredibly specific. The text claims that this Christ oil comes from the Holy Prepuce, the foreskin, which it says contains these immortalizing stem cells that the cabal is actively farming. All right, so we've got the what and the why. Now, let's get into the how. The document lays out what it claims is a two-pronged attack used by this cabal. So the methods they supposedly use, they basically fall into two buckets. On one hand, you've got direct chemical manipulation with things like mercury, salt, and sulfuric acid. And on the other hand, you have ritualistic methods, which the text calls symbolic circumcision or the marking. And the effects of these chemicals, according to the document, are pretty grim. They supposedly calcify our glands, stop our bodies from healing properly, and even manipulate our spines and chakras, all with the goal of making this valuable Christ oil leak out so it can be collected. So what about the ritual side of things? Well, that has a whole nother purpose. According to the document, these rituals are designed to create what it calls artificial servants for their empire. Basically, people who are programmed to serve the cabal's agenda. Okay, so from the nitty-gritty physical stuff, the document then zooms way out to a cosmic level. It proposes this giant metaphysical prison that's supposedly the foundation for this whole system of control. And this is a huge claim. Our reality, it isn't real. It's supposedly a fake Earth matrix, like a hologram that's being projected from the planet Saturn to keep us all trapped. Okay, now the document does this really interesting kind of word association game. It starts with the planet at the very center of this whole thing, Saturn. And then, just by moving the letters around, it makes a direct symbolic leap from the planet Saturn to the figure of Satan. And then, in what is probably the most bizarre twist in this whole thing, another anagram connects both of them to Santa. Yeah, the idea is that this is some kind of hidden in plain sight secret. And it doesn't stop there. The text then pulls in a bunch of other familiar figures. This whole Saturn-Satan complex is tied to Father Time and the Grim Reaper, pointing to their shared scythe symbol, and even to the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, who is, of course, death. So, after painting this incredibly bleak picture of control from chemicals all the way up to the cosmos, the document actually ends by offering some kind of hope, a way out. It uses this powerful metaphor to explain our situation. Our consciousness is like an Easter egg, lost and hidden in this massive haystack of a fake reality.
But there's a flip side. There's a counterforce. The document reimagines the story of Jesus not as a person, but as Christ consciousness, a savior that descends from outside the matrix, coming from the sky to rescue everyone who's trapped inside. So, when you boil it all down, this entire, elaborate document is really a story about control versus freedom. It's describing a reality where everything from your body to your perception of the universe is being manipulated. Which really leaves you with one massive question to chew on. If this was your reality, what would it even mean to be truly free?